answer. When you think about growing older, what comes to mind? For many people, it's a picture of slowing down. Less energy, less strength, more medications, more doctor's appointments, more dependence on others. By the time someone reaches their late 70s, they're often told to lower their expectations. Friends, family, and even society begin repeating the same message. Take it easy. Don't overdo it. That's just part of getting older. Over time, those words become more than advice. They become beliefs. Many older adults quietly accept that weakness, forgetfulness, poor balance, and constant fatigue are simply unavoidable. But here's the truth. Growing older and growing weaker are not exactly the same thing. Yes, aging changes the body. No one can stop time. But how well you age depends on much more than the number of candles on your birthday cake. In fact, if you look closely at people between the ages of 75 and 85 who continue living active, independent lives, you'll notice something interesting. They're usually not following complicated routines. They're not relying on miracle supplements. They're not spending thousands of dollars chasing the latest health trend. Instead, they've simply refused to stop doing a handful of everyday habits that quietly protect their bodies and minds. These habits aren't glamorous. You probably won't hear about them in flashy advertisements. Yet year after year, they help preserve the things that matter most: strength, balance, memory, confidence, and perhaps most importantly, independence. The ability to get out of bed without assistance, to enjoy time with family, to think clearly, to make your own decisions, to continue living life on your own terms. That's what today's video is about. We're counting down 6 habits that many of the healthiest adults between 75 and 85 continue practicing every day. If you're already doing several of them, that's wonderful. You're likely aging better than you realize. And if you've let 1 or 2 of them slip, don't see that as failure. See it as an opportunity. Because healthy aging isn't about perfection. It's about consistently making small decisions that add up over time. Stay with me until the end, because the number 1 habit surprises almost everyone. It isn't exercise. It isn't nutrition. And it may be the strongest sign that someone will remain mentally sharp and independent well into their 80s. Now, let's begin with number 6. Number 6. You drink water before your body has to ask. It sounds almost too simple to matter. After all, it's just water. But after the age of 75, proper hydration becomes one of the most overlooked keys to staying healthy. Here's why. When we're younger, our bodies send clear signals when it's time to drink. We become thirsty. We grab a glass of water. Problem solved. As we age, however, those signals become weaker. Many older adults no longer feel thirsty until they're already mildly dehydrated. Add medications, reduced kidney function, changes in appetite, and the tendency to avoid drinking because of nighttime bathroom trips, and dehydration quietly becomes part of daily life. The problem is that dehydration rarely announces itself with dramatic symptoms. Instead, it disguises itself. You feel unusually tired. You become dizzy after standing. Your balance isn't quite as steady. Constipation becomes more frequent. You lose concentration. Your mood changes. Many people assume these are simply signs of aging. Sometimes they are, but surprisingly often, the body is simply asking for more water. Think about everything water does. It carries oxygen and nutrients throughout your body. It supports healthy circulation. It helps regulate body temperature. It keeps joints lubricated. It allows muscles to work efficiently. And perhaps most importantly, it helps your brain perform at its best. When hydration drops, every one of these systems becomes less efficient. Not overnight, not dramatically, but little by little. Those small changes accumulate. A little less energy, a little slower thinking, a little poorer balance, a little less confidence. Over months and years, those little differences become much larger ones. That's why older adults who age successfully usually don't wait until they're thirsty. They build hydration into their daily routine. A glass after waking up, another with breakfast, one before leaving the house, water with lunch, another during the afternoon. Instead of reacting to thirst, they stay ahead of it. This simple habit often improves energy, concentration, and overall well-being far more than people expect. It shows self-awareness. It shows intention. It shows the willingness to care for your body before a problem develops. That mindset often separates people who remain independent from those who slowly lose confidence in themselves. If you're still drinking enough water each day, not accidentally but intentionally, you've already developed one of the habits shared by many adults who continue thriving well into their 80s. Number 5. You still give your muscles a reason to stay strong. When people hear the words strength training, they often picture heavy weights and crowded gyms. But healthy aging isn't about becoming a bodybuilder. It's about protecting the strength you already have. Every time you stand up from a chair, carry groceries, climb stairs, work in the garden, or lift something around the house, you're sending your muscles an important message. We still need you. Your muscles respond to demand. When they're used regularly, they stay active. When they're ignored, they slowly disappear. This natural process is called age-related muscle loss, and it accelerates surprisingly quickly after the age of 70. The good news? It isn't inevitable. One of the biggest differences between older adults who stay independent and those who become dependent isn't age. It's activity. People who continue asking their muscles to work usually remain stronger for much longer. Strength protects much more than appearance. It protects balance. It protects walking speed. It protects posture. It protects bone health. Most importantly, it protects confidence. Think about getting out of a low chair, walking across a parking lot, stepping onto a curb, carrying laundry upstairs, opening a heavy door. These simple activities don't seem like exercise. Yet every one of them depends on muscle. When strength begins disappearing, everyday life becomes harder. People naturally become less active. As they move less, muscles weaken even faster. Then confidence falls. Eventually, ordinary tasks start feeling overwhelming. That's how many older adults lose independence. Not suddenly, but gradually. The healthiest seniors interrupt that cycle. They keep moving. Not because they enjoy hard workouts, but because they understand something incredibly important. The body keeps what it continues to use. You don't need expensive equipment. Resistance bands work. Light dumbbells work. Chair stands work. Wall push-ups work. Even carrying groceries counts. Research continues to show that just 2 or 3 sessions of resistance-based movement each week can significantly improve strength, mobility, and balance in older adults. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is consistency. Every time you challenge your muscles, you're making a small investment in tomorrow's independence. You're making it easier to travel. Easier to climb stairs. Easier to recover after illness. Easier to enjoy life without constantly asking someone else for help. Because independence isn't built in a single day. It's protected one movement at a time. If you're still giving your muscles regular work, even in small ways, you're doing something many people your age have already stopped doing. And that's a powerful sign you're aging better than most. Number 4, you protect your sleep instead of treating it as an afterthought. Many people believe that needing less sleep is a normal part of getting older. In reality, what often changes isn't the need for sleep, it's the ability to get high-quality sleep consistently. And after the age of 75, that difference matters more than most people realize. Sleep is when the body repairs itself. It's when the brain organizes memories, clears waste products, restores energy, and prepares for another day. Without enough quality sleep, every system in the body has to work harder. The challenge is that sleep becomes more complicated with age. Pain can interfere. Medications can interfere. Frequent bathroom trips can interfere. Even spending too much time sitting during the day can make it harder to sleep at night. Because these disruptions become common, many older adults simply accept poor sleep as something they have to live with. But poor sleep doesn't stay confined to the bedroom. It follows you into the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. You may notice your memory feels less reliable, your patience becomes shorter, your energy drops, your balance isn't as steady. Simple tasks seem more difficult than they should. Over time, these effects begin to stack on top of one another. That's why many adults who age successfully make sleep a priority. Not because they're lazy, not because they spend more time in bed, but because they understand that recovery is part of staying strong. They tend to go to bed at roughly the same time each night. They wake up at a consistent hour. They limit bright screens before bed. They avoid large meals late in the evening. They create a routine that tells the body it's time to rest. The body loves rhythm. The brain loves rhythm. When sleep becomes predictable, the body often responds by sleeping more efficiently. And there's another benefit many people overlook. Good sleep improves almost everything else on this list. You're more likely to exercise, more likely to eat well, more likely to stay socially active, more likely to think clearly. One healthy habit supports another. Think of sleep as the foundation underneath the house. Nobody notices it when it's strong, but when it weakens, every room above it feels the effects. If you're still protecting your sleep and maintaining a consistent routine, you're doing something many people underestimate. You're helping your body recover. You're helping your brain function. And you're increasing your chances of staying independent for years to come. That's one more reason you're aging better than most. Number 3. You eat enough protein throughout the day. Let's talk about one of the most common nutrition mistakes older adults make. It's not eating too much. It's often eating too little of the thing that helps preserve strength. Protein. Many people assume protein is mainly for athletes or younger adults trying to build muscle. But after 75, protein becomes even more important. Why? Because aging muscles become less responsive. The body doesn't use protein as efficiently as it once did. That means older adults often need a steady supply of quality protein throughout the day to maintain strength and function. Unfortunately, many people don't eat that way. Breakfast may be little more than coffee and toast. Lunch might be a light sandwich. Most of the day's protein arrives at dinner. By then, the body has gone hours without the building blocks it needs. Imagine trying to maintain a house without regularly delivering construction materials. Eventually, repairs begin falling behind. The same thing happens inside the body. Protein helps repair tissues. It supports the immune system. It helps maintain muscle, and it plays an important role in preserving physical independence. The loss of muscle doesn't happen overnight. It's usually gradual. A person may not notice it until climbing stairs feels harder. Walking longer distances becomes tiring. Getting up from a chair requires more effort. Carrying groceries becomes challenging. At that point, many people assume age is entirely responsible. But sometimes the body simply hasn't been receiving enough support. The healthiest older adults often make protein a deliberate part of every meal. Eggs in the morning, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, beans, fish, chicken, turkey, tofu, lentils. Nothing complicated, nothing extreme, just consistent nourishment. They understand that strength isn't maintained by accident. The body needs raw materials. And protein provides many of those materials. There's also a psychological benefit. When people maintain strength, they feel more capable. When they feel more capable, they're more likely to remain active. And activity itself helps preserve strength. It's a positive cycle. The opposite can also happen. Less protein leads to less muscle. Less muscle leads to less movement. Less movement leads to further decline. That's a cycle nobody wants. The good news is that small improvements can make a meaningful difference. Adding protein to breakfast, including it at lunch, being more intentional at dinner. These simple adjustments often support energy, mobility, and resilience far more than people expect. If you're already paying attention to your protein intake and making sure your body receives regular support throughout the day, you're doing something many older adults overlook. And once again, that's a sign you're aging better than most. Number 2, you stay connected to other people. This next habit may be one of the most powerful on the entire list. And it has nothing to do with exercise. Nothing to do with vitamins. Nothing to do with medications. It has to do with people. Human connection. Meaningful relationships. Real conversations. A sense of belonging. As people grow older, social circles naturally change. Retirement happens. Friends move away. Health issues create limitations. Some relationships fade. Others are lost altogether. Without realizing it, many older adults begin spending more and more time alone. The danger isn't simply loneliness. The danger is disconnection. Because meaningful social interaction does far more than improve mood. It keeps the mind active. Think about what happens during a conversation. You listen. You remember details. You process information. You interpret emotions. You respond. You tell stories. You ask questions. Without realizing it, you're giving your brain an incredible workout. Memory, attention, language, problem solving, emotional awareness, all at the same time. But connection provides something even deeper. Purpose, a reason to show up, a reason to get dressed, a reason to leave the house, a reason to care about tomorrow. Many of the healthiest adults between 75 and 85 remain connected in some meaningful way. Maybe it's a weekly lunch with friends, a church group, a volunteer activity, a walking partner, a neighbor they check on, regular phone calls with family, a grandchild who expects to hear from them. The form doesn't matter nearly as much as the consistency. And let me be clear, being socially connected doesn't mean being extroverted. It doesn't mean having dozens of friends. Some people are happiest with a very small circle. That's perfectly fine. The goal isn't popularity. The goal is connection. Knowing that someone cares. Knowing that someone notices your presence. Knowing that your life still matters to other people. Research continues to show that socially connected older adults often enjoy better emotional health, stronger cognitive function, and greater overall well-being. But even without research, most of us have seen it with our own eyes. People who remain engaged with life often seem younger than their age. They laugh more. They participate more. They remain curious. They continue looking forward to things. Connection creates momentum, and momentum keeps people moving forward. One meaningful friendship can matter. One weekly gathering can matter. One regular conversation can matter. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you're still maintaining real relationships and meaningful human connection, you're protecting much more than your happiness. You're protecting your mind, your confidence, your resilience, and your future. And that's why social connection remains one of the strongest signs that you're aging better than most. Number 1, you never stop challenging your brain. Now we've reached the habit that may be the clearest sign of healthy aging. Surprisingly, it isn't about food. It isn't about exercise. And it certainly isn't about expensive supplements. It's something much simpler. You continue challenging your brain. One of the biggest myths about aging is that mental decline is simply unavoidable. Many people believe that once they reach their late 70s or 80s, their brain can only lose ability, not gain it. But modern research paints a much more hopeful picture. The brain continues changing throughout life. It continues building new connections. But there's one condition. It has to be challenged. Think about what happens when life becomes completely predictable. You wake up at the same time, watch the same television shows, read the same newspaper, have the same conversations, follow the same routine every single day. There's nothing wrong with routine. In fact, routine creates stability. But when every day becomes identical, the brain receives very little stimulation. Over time, it begins taking shortcuts. It stops working as hard. Just like a muscle that isn't exercised, the brain gradually becomes less flexible when it's never asked to solve new problems. That's why many older adults who remain mentally sharp share one important characteristic. They're still curious. They haven't stopped learning. Some learn how to use a smartphone or tablet. Others discover new recipes. Some start gardening. Others begin painting. Some read books they've never explored before. Others join discussion groups, solve puzzles, practice a musical instrument, or even learn a few words of another language. Notice something. None of these activities require extraordinary talent. They simply require curiosity. Every time you learn something unfamiliar, your brain has to create new pathways. It has to focus, remember, adapt, solve problems. And that's exactly the kind of exercise the brain loves. There's another benefit that's rarely discussed. Learning something new changes how you see yourself. It reminds you that you're still capable, still growing, still improving, still moving forward. That mindset is incredibly powerful, because the opposite can quietly happen too. Some people retire from learning, not because they have to, but because they believe they're too old to begin something new. Slowly, their world becomes smaller. They avoid unfamiliar technology. They stop asking questions. They lose confidence in trying new things. Without realizing it, they stop growing long before life asks them to. The healthiest older adults make a different choice. They remain students. Not because they need another diploma, but because they enjoy discovering something they didn't know yesterday. That curiosity often spills into every other part of life. Curious people tend to stay more socially active. They tend to move more. They stay interested in current events. They ask better questions. They solve problems instead of avoiding them. They continue looking toward the future instead of living only in the past. That's one of the greatest gifts curiosity provides. Hope. Because every new skill says something important. Tomorrow is still worth preparing for. And perhaps that's one of the most beautiful signs of healthy aging, the desire to keep growing. If you're still reading, still asking questions, still learning, still challenging yourself, then you're doing something remarkable. You're giving your brain exactly what it needs to stay active. And that's one of the strongest signs you're aging better than most. Bringing it all together. Now let's look at the complete picture. Healthy aging isn't built on one miracle habit. It's built on consistency. If you intentionally drink enough water, you support every cell in your body. If you continue strengthening your muscles, you protect your balance, mobility, and independence. If you prioritize quality sleep, you give your brain and body the opportunity to recover. If you eat enough protein throughout the day, you provide the building blocks needed to preserve strength. If you stay connected with other people, you protect your emotional health, your memory, and your sense of purpose. And if you continue learning new things, you remind your brain that it's never too late to grow. Notice what all 6 habits have in common. None of them are expensive. None require perfect health. None demand perfection. They're ordinary. But ordinary habits, repeated consistently, often create extraordinary results. Many people believe healthy aging is mostly determined by genetics. Genes certainly matter. But daily choices matter too. Every healthy meal, every walk, every conversation, every glass of water, every good night's sleep, every page you read, every new skill you practice. These choices quietly shape the person you'll become 6 months from now and 5 years from now. Healthy aging isn't about trying to become young again. It's about preserving the freedom to enjoy the years ahead, the freedom to travel, to play with grandchildren, to visit friends, to shop independently, to make your own decisions, to continue living life on your own terms. That's what these habits truly protect. Not just years, quality of those years. One final thought. Before we finish, I'd like to leave you with one simple idea. Many people spend far too much time worrying about things they can't control. They worry about getting older. They worry about their family history. They worry about tomorrow. But here's the encouraging news. There is still so much you can control. You can choose to move your body today. You can choose to drink another glass of water. You can choose a healthier breakfast tomorrow morning. You can call a friend. You can go to bed a little earlier tonight. You can read something new before the day ends. None of those decisions seem life-changing by themselves. But together, they become your lifestyle. And your lifestyle becomes your future. The adults who remain strong, sharp, and independent into their 80s rarely do one spectacular thing. They simply continue doing the ordinary things that many others quietly stop doing. That's what separates healthy aging from simply getting older. Small choices, repeated consistently, year after year. So if you're already practicing several of these habits, take a moment to appreciate yourself. You're investing in a healthier future. And if 1 or 2 of these habits have slipped away, don't be discouraged. Start with just one. Because one good habit often leads to another. And another. Before long, you've built a healthier routine without trying to change your entire life overnight. Remember, it's never about being perfect. It's about continuing to care for yourself. Because you're worth that effort. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 habits are you already doing consistently, and which one would you like to improve this week? Share your answer in the comments below. Your experience could encourage someone else who needs a little motivation today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Every week, we share practical, research-based tips to help you stay healthier, stronger, and more independent as you age. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Until next time, take good care of yourself.